Sometimes we might want to use words to describe the way a graph looks or the shape of a distribution rather than show them a picture. And there are ways that we can do this. One of the ways we can do this is to describe the shape of the distribution, and there are a couple of keywords that we would use. We can use the word symmetrical. Now, if something is symmetrical, that means that it looks the same on the left-hand side of the graph as on the right-hand side. So that means a graph might look a little bit like this. And you can see here that with this histogram, if this part here is the middle, it looks the same roughly on this side as on that side. So that means I can reflect it around the middle, and that's symmetrical. But sometimes histograms don't look like that, and they can look more like this. And when we have a histogram that looks like this, we say that this is skewed. Now, of course, it can be skewed one of two ways. It can be skewed so it looks like this, which is what this graph is, or it could be skewed the other way, so it kind of looks more like that. And so therefore, I need to define between this skew, where I have my tail going into the smaller numbers, and this sort of skew, when the tail goes into the larger numbers. And that's exactly what we look for. We look for the long part here, and that will tell us whether it's negatively skewed. This one is negatively skewed, or the blue one here, which is positively skewed. And that's one way that we can describe the shape of a distribution, that something is symmetrical or negatively skewed or positively skewed. But sometimes we might have a distribution that looks symmetrical, except there's a point way out away from the main data. Sometimes there might be one or maybe 2 points way away from the data. These points here are called outliers. And we'll work out a definition to describe what outliers are so that we know always if one is or one isn't later on during the year. But what we need to know then is when we have something like outliers, that we still describe the shape as symmetrical and then this one would be symmetrical with outliers. And it would be the same thing if we have skewed data. If we have data that looks something like this, and there was an outlier, that would be negatively skewed. With the outlier, exactly the same as something that was positively skewed and had an outlier as well. That's positively skewed with an outlier. So when we have an outlier, and quite often you might get this in data where we look at the size of different animals, you might have a whole lot of normal mammals here and then a whale up here. Or you might have a look at house prices, and sometimes in a suburb or in an area, you might get a whole lot of house prices in one range and then one or two right up here that are the multi-million-dollar mansions. So when we're describing those distributions, we look at the main shape of the main body and then decide whether there are outliers as well. If you found this or any of my other videos helpful, please subscribe to my channel or like the video. Thanks.